Hey everyone, my name is Chris. In this video, we're going to talk through Looker Studio prep work. There's a few steps we need to take prior to building dashboards in Looker Studio. This is one in a series of videos in which we talk through GA4, the GA4 construction process, all the way from tracking code placement to dashboard development. This project is being done for Maui Humane Society. In exchange for my services on this account, they've given me permission to share this and other videos with you. So the first thing we're going to do when it comes to Looker Studio is actually connect the data source. There are many different data sources, which we'll talk about in just one moment, but the primary one that we're going to connect today is GA4. We're going to connect Google Analytics 4, our GA4 account, to Looker Studio, which will allow us to feed our data, all the data we're collecting in GA4 over to Looker Studio so we can visualize it however we'd like, to tell a story and to basically talk about how our website is performing, how our marketing campaigns are faring, and so on. As I noted, there are quite a few data sources in Looker Studio. We can kind of look at this a little bit closer. So we're going to connect GA4. We're also eventually probably going to look at things like Google Ads, Search Console. You can connect YouTube Analytics, Google Sheets. If it starts with the word Google, there's a good chance that it will connect to GA4, or I'm sorry, to Looker Studio. So the first thing we're going to want to do here in Looker Studio is create a data source. So the way that we do that is we'll go create and then go to data source. We're going to find GA4. Now you'll note that there are 24 Google connectors. So Google connector would be things like Google Analytics, Google Ads, but there are a number of other connectors. You can see there's almost 1,000 other connectors for other services like Facebook ads or Microsoft advertising, other entities or venues that aren't really in the Google family. In order to make these work, you will probably want to work with a connector. A connector is like a Power My Analytics, in which these tools or like Supermetrics, Power My Analytics, even Report Dash, all of these connectors really act as translators between some third-party venue and Looker Studio. Okay, so let's find Google Analytics. There she is right there, and we're going to look for our Maui Humane Society account. There it is. So we'll find our account and we'll select our GA4. There's our old Universal Analytics, so it's still alive in April of 2024. And GA4 is right here, so we'll connect this. Before we hit connect, let's give it a good name, because if we've got a number of different data sources, we need to keep them kind of separate. So we'll call it GA4, and off we go. Now, once I connect this, we're essentially building a bridge or a pipe between the data that's in GA4 and Looker Studio. Okay, so here's all the different dimensions and metrics. We'll talk about dimensions and metrics in a subsequent video, but all the dimensions like date and country and device, category, etc., all that's coming through. And there's 481 fields. Now, Looker Studio and GA4 are working on this. So at first, when GA4 first started, there was only like 112, 115 fields, and so they're consistently adding to this. And so once you've got your data source connected, sometimes it's a good idea to reconnect it after a few months or so, just to see if there's any new dimensions or metrics that Looker Studio is now accepting from GA4. Okay, so we've got all of our dimensions, all of our, there's the metrics in blue. Again, we'll talk about those in a subsequent video, but now we're connected, so we're good to go. And now we can create a report. Now, when we do create a report, it's just going to give us a blank report, and it might give us a sample table, and you can see it loading right there. There she is. So there's all of our different events with the view. Obviously, page view is the only event that has views as a metric, so that's why we're seeing zeros down. We're probably going to replace this here. But before we do all of this, I wanted to talk a little bit about the format and the structure of what our Looker Studio report should look like. In order to do this, I'm going to tell you a quick story. So a while back, a friend of mine came to me who works and lives in Phoenix as well, and he said, "Hey Chris, I've got a client. They're putting a report together. Can you take a look?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Send it on over." So here's what it looks like. And at first glance, it looks pretty standard, right? I see a table, some column graphs, maybe some notes in here, which is excellent because we will want some notes and some insights to kind of translate the data that we've got. There's a pie chart, some more tables down the way here. So I scrolled a little bit, Okay, some more data. Looks like they're pulling in some information in from whatever data source they're using. And then I started scrolling. Whoa. Okay, so imagine the meeting that would you'd have to go through to look at all of this data. The point of dashboards is not to show our reporting audiences or our clients for the dashboard everything. It's to show them the most important thing, okay, or the most important things, the items that are most indicative of business success, that are most germane and relevant to the conversation we're having about our marketing campaigns, our content, etc. So what I would say is, as a rule, not a hard rule, but as a general rule, I would say let's try and make sure that our dashboards are just one page. Now, it could be kind of old school landscape if you're going to print this out and take it to a meeting. Typically, these days, I'm building dashboards that fill the screen, so they kind of have that 16:9 aspect ratio. We'll talk about how to do that as well. But if you can get it to one page, just use one page. And that exercise really kind of forces you to determine what's absolutely critical and crucial and what's kind of nice to have, but you could always kind of bring up in notes, etc. Right? Okay, so now that we've got that one page rule out of the way, I'm going to break it, and I'm going to tell you this. I would say that the report structure and framework should mirror your audience. Okay, and there's really an inverse relationship to the higher you are in terms of the org chart, or higher up you are in the company organizational structure, and the amount of detail that you should provide. So at the executive level on the far left here, we just want to build really simple, to the point reports that get straight to it and don't offer much fluff. These folks don't have a lot of time. They need to know what's going on, why it's going on, and what we're gonna do next. So the mantra with the executive team when you're reporting to them is to be brief, be brief, be bright, and then be gone, right? So get in and get out. Now at a management level, we probably want to incorporate additional information here because we're getting a little bit more in the weeds, and we're talking more about campaign details, features on the website perhaps. How is this performing? How's that doing? Et cetera, et cetera. So we might actually incorporate some more metrics here, and definitely incorporate some notes to translate the data that we're seeing and offer up suggested next steps and action items. All right. Now, if I'm talking to another nerd, we're not going to use one page. I'm going to break the rule. We're probably going to utilize more than one page and really get into it, because we want to uncover every little factoid that we potentially can to understand every detail about our content, our marketing campaigns, and our website, or whatever it is we're measuring, right? So we might break that one page rule and get into it a little bit more, all right? So the other thing I wanted to note here is you can see these 3 real life reports for 3 different audiences. They all kind of look the same, but they're all different. And why is that? Because they mirror the brand. These are not my reports. They belong to my clients, right? So they don't have my logo on them. They don't have my colors. They have the brand's colors. So agencies, this message is for you, or analytics folks, this message is also for you, who provide services to clients. I would suggest that if you are currently building reports to mirror your brand, stop. It's not your report, it's the client's, right? So make it look like theirs. And there's going to be some options for us to adjust the theme, the layout, the fonts, the colors, and we're going to go through all this from Maui Humane Society in just a bit, so we can make sure that it looks the way that we want it to. And that is to mirror the look of the brand for whom we are providing this service and building the dashboard, okay? So Maui Humane Society's dashboard is going to look like their website, and we'll show you how to do that. All right, in terms of layout, back before 2020, we probably would utilize some kind of print layout where we actually meet in person. These days, I'm using the layout on the right, where we're basically all on Zoom or Teams or Google Meet or whatever we're utilizing to share data over a screen. If you are still printing out items, here's some little resources here in terms of the dimensions I would use from a width and height perspective to fill 8.5 by 11 precisely. And also we've got some dimensions over here on the right-hand side to allow you to build that 16:9 aspect ratio to fill the full screen in your window, right? Whether that's a television, a computer monitor, whatever, all right? And there's going to be some options here. I'll show you these a little bit later here as to how we do this. Okay, so let's actually build out this theme for Maui Humane Society. I'm going to jump right into that layout. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over to theme and layout right here. I'm going to select that. And I'm going to go, we've got a tab here that says theme and layout. I'm going to go to layout. And then I'm going to, first thing I would do is actually say fit to width. So whatever the size of this is going to fit to the width of the screen. So let's check that radio button. And you'll notice down here in terms of canvas size or the layout of your actual dashboard here, your page, you can actually choose just 16 by 9. So we've got a width, that's a portrait layout. So let's go 16 by 9 landscape. There we go. So we've got a width of 1366, if you can see that, and then 768. That's actually not big enough for me. I'm going to want to incorporate a number of different charts and data in this dashboard. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So I use a custom size, and that is 1870 by 1050. You can use whatever you want. This just works for me. I've done the math with my trusted calculator to make sure that this is going to be pixel perfect in terms of filling every pixel on the screen. So that's what I use. And I think we're good here otherwise, all right? So now we're going to go over to, we've got our layout set, and now we're going to go over to our theme, okay? And they give you a number of different themes with the dark background or the tan background. We're actually going to build our own theme because we want this thing to look exactly like our website, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a couple little tricks here to make sure that I'm using not just the colors, but the font. I want this dashboard to look exactly like the brand does on the website. It's their report, not mine. Remember that, right? So if I inspect this text right here, I'm just going to right click, inspect, and I can see if I scroll down over here, I could probably find some fonts. Yes, Montserrat, that's the font they're using. Okay, so there's a couple little tricks you can use. So I just hit right click, inspect on some text, found the font, and it's actually a really common font. So I lucked out in this, and I'm going to choose Montserrat for my font, keep it black, that's fine. And then my accent styles or my headers are going to be Montserrat as well. Now I can change this up. I can use Montserrat. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Montserrat, I don't know. Montserrat, I'm going to call it. I'm going to use Montserrat for text throughout this whole entire thing, okay? And I'm going to keep it black for now. Now, down, if we scroll down a little bit more, we've got this color palette, and it's very Skittles package right now. It's like all the colors of the rainbow. I don't want these colors. I want these colors. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can do this as well. So it looks like these are the three colors with these buttons up here that I'll probably want to utilize. So if I right click on this again, here's one way of doing it, which I can find. Oh, there you go right there. There's a color, right? So typically we're looking for a hex color. You can see that brown right there, or I'll right click right here, and there's that like aqua blue green there. So if I grab this color right here, I'm just going to hit Control C and copy it, bring it over. I'm going to select this here. The first color is blue. I don't want the blue. I want to add a new color, and I'll just paste it in there, and there we go. Now the next color I'm going to grab, I'm not going to do the same way. I've got this little, I use Chrome, and I've got this little eyedropper tool, and I can actually pick a color from the page. So I'm going to grab this orange here, and if I do that, I can grab my orange. There it is. Same process. I'm going to go back to my report, go to the next color, hit the plus sign, add it, and off we go. Okay. I'm going to not use my eyedropper. I'll do the first kind of step here that we took. Inspect that kind of brown tannish color. There we go. And pop that in there. Do we have any other? There's three. And typically you only need about 3, maybe 4 colors. I don't think we have many others that we can kind of steal here. That's about it. But I might just use like a dark gray there, just in case I bleed into the 4th color a little bit, okay? Now the other thing here is now that we've got our color palette, that's going to impact line graphs. It's going to impact pie charts, it's bar charts. All these colors will be automatically reflected in this color palette right here. So that's nice. One thing I'm seeing already, if I go back to theme and layout, and I want to adjust my table, is if I go to theme layout, and then right here on accent styles, there's a little paint bucket. Let's see what we got there. I'm actually going to add let's make that, what do we want to do here? Let's make it that aqua color. So I'm going to grab that again. Did I get the aqua color with my eyedropper? I don't think I did. I'm going to go grab it. There we go. Got my aqua color. I'll pop this right there. So there we've got, it's already blue, right, or green, or whatever that color is. Okay, if I want to change to a white headline, I can do that, and off we go. Okay, so we're already making some good moves here. If I remove the theme and layout, click into here, now it's time to kind of start to build this out. Now this video is not going to be building charts and graphs based upon what we want to actually visualize from GA4, but what it will do is kind of give you some tips on how to present your data. I know for certain that I want to get my company logo in here, and so watch this. I'm going to go right click, copy image address on the logo. If I go back to my report and go right here, image. Now I can upload an image from a computer, but I can also do this with the URL and just insert it. Hey, we're building this thing already, look at that. Okay. Now I want to give my client the ability to update their data and make sure this data is interactive within this report, okay? And so one of the interactive elements is going to be a date control. So I want them to be able to select a date range control, and I'm just going to put it in the corner over here. You can kind of see this red line popping up. That's going to help me align things. If you're a little OCD like I am, you can align that nicely. So that's going to fit nice. And then it's already kind of selected the green there, so I'm good there. Now the automatic date range is going to be, let's just make it last month, okay? And so if I choose this item and then go over to my setup column right here, I can choose an auto date range, and I'll go last month and then hit apply, and then it'll reflect. I'm recording this in April, so last month is March, and so we've got all of that. Now at this point I can start to add in line graphs, and again I'm not going to get too crazy here, but we can start to build. There's March, right? So this is a reflection of this month. Now if I change this to this month and hit apply, now it's the full month of April minus, you know, yesterday, right? So it's where I'm to the point where I would, you know, today essentially. And so if I go back, I'll change that back to last month. So we've got a full month worth of data, and there we go. Now the other thing I'm probably going to want to do here is add a footer. Why would I add a footer? Because some of these metrics and charts and graphs that I place in here eventually might need a little bit of a description, okay? And so I'm going to add a footer, and to keep in line with the design of the website, I'm going to use this kind of darker gray color here. And if I don't like it, I can always change it. So I'll just add a box. There we go. And I'll put the footer down here, stretch it across. And then we can change the color of this. I'll choose my little paint bucket. There's my custom colors from my color palette, and off we go. Now if I don't like that, if I want to make it a little darker, I can, you know, so we can change it to whatever. Maybe it's orange. It's pretty bright. So there we go. And eventually what I'll have here is a legend or glossary. I'll put some text. Legend. Okay, make sure that's white so there's some nice contrast there. Pop it over here. So underneath this, I'll have a bunch of description of what these metrics mean. And eventually we'll get there, but in this video, we're just kind of talking about how to set this thing up, right? So I've got a good framework here from which to work. Over time, like I'll be able to style some of these items, like add points and make the lines smooth and do all kinds of fun stuff as we go. But that's about it for this one. I think what we wanted to do here is just kind of show you some quick tips and pointers in terms of updating the style before you get ready. It's important to do this now because every chart, graph, visualization that we'll add to this dashboard will basically fall in line with the fonts and colors and theme that we placed within this. So we're in a good spot. Now, we added the data source for Google Analytics, as we talked about earlier. If we ever want to add another data source, we can go add data, and then I can add my Google Ads account or my Search Console account, right? I can do all of that. So that'll be something you can do later on at any point to make sure that you're not just telling the story from one data source, but you're telling the full story from all your different data sources that you got available, whether it's ads or SEO or analytics and so on. Okay, hopefully that works for you. All right. If you found this video helpful, you'd be doing me a favor by considering donating to MauiHumaneSociety.org. They're great people. It's a great cause. And that's it. Thank you so much for your time and attention.